A grave robber walked into a teacher's room one night and said he had opened 1,000 graves. He was not boasting. He was frightened. Something he had seen in those graves had broken something inside him, and he did not know where else to go. Bayezid al-Bistami was sitting in a small lamplit room. The walls were plain mud brick. A clay jug stood near his knee. He looked at the man who had come in from the dark, and he did not send him away. He waited. That was all. He simply waited. The man sat down. He was not clean. He smelled of earth, and of something older than earth. He had come a long way to say what he needed to say, and now that he was here, the words came slowly, as if each one cost him something he could not afford. He told Bayezid what his trade was. He had been opening graves at night for years. He took what the dead no longer needed. He was not proud of this. He had told himself for a long time that the dead did not care. But lately, he had begun to wonder if that was true. 1,000 graves, he said. He had opened near 1,000 graves across the years. He said it plainly. The way a man states a number he has kept track of. He had counted. That detail alone, that he had counted, said something about the weight he had been carrying. Bayezid did not move. He did not recoil. He listened the way a man listens when he understands that the person in front of him has come to the end of something and needs to be heard before anything else can happen. He kept his hands still. He kept his face toward the man. The grave robber said he had noticed over many years that most of the dead were turned away from a certain direction inside their graves, twisted away, rolled onto their other side, as if, even in the ground, they had shifted from where they were placed. He had seen this so many times, he had stopped being surprised by it. But then he said something that had stayed with him. In all those graves, across all those years, he had found only 2 bodies that were still facing the direction they had been placed. Only 2 out of near 1,000. 2 faces still pointing the right way. He had no explanation for this. It had frightened him. He looked at Bayezid when he said it. He was not asking for comfort. He was asking for an answer. He had seen 1,000 graves, and he could not make sense of what 2 of them had told him. The question had followed him out of the burial ground and into this room, and it would not leave. Bayezid was quiet for a moment. Not the quiet of a man who does not know. The quiet of a man who knows and is deciding how to carry what he knows into words without breaking something in the process. The lamp between them gave a small, steady light. He asked the man if he had looked carefully at those 2, not at their faces, but at the whole of them, at the way they lay, at what their bodies said. The grave robber said yes, he had looked. They were old. Both of them were very old. That was all he could tell. Bayezid nodded. He said the answer was not in their age. Age alone does not hold a body in place. He said the answer was in how they had lived, in one particular thing they had done or not done across their entire lives. He said it quietly. He did not rush toward the answer. The grave robber leaned forward. He had come through the dark and through the burial ground and through the door of this room to hear what came next. His hands were still pressed together on his knees. The lamp made the room feel smaller than it was. Those 2 people, Bayezid said, had never spent a day of their lives worrying about where tomorrow's food would come from. They had never lain awake, calculating what was left and whether it would be enough. They had never hoarded. They had never clutched. They had moved through their lives with open hands. The rest, Bayezid said, had spent their lives afraid of the empty bowl, afraid of the season that does not come, afraid of the day when what they had stored would finally run out. That fear had lived in their bodies. It had pulled at them, even in the ground. It had turned them in their graves. The grave robber sat with that for a moment. He did not speak. The room was quiet, except for the small sound of the lamp. He was a man who had spent his life taking from the dead because he was afraid of not having enough. He understood what he had just been told. He felt it land. Bayezid did not press him. He did not follow the point with more words. He let the silence hold what had just been said. This is what the best teachers do. They say the thing, and then they step back and let the other person carry it. They do not explain it to death. After a time, the man stood up. He did not say much when he left. He thanked Bayezid in a few words. He pulled his robe around him and went back through the door and into the night. The lamp stayed lit. The clay jug did not move. The room was exactly as it had been. Bayezid stayed where he was. He had not performed anything tonight. He had not delivered a lesson or a speech. A man had come to him with a question that had been building for years, and he had answered it as plainly as he could. That was the whole of it. The burial ground outside was still. The stone markers stood in the dark. Most of the dead beneath them had been ordinary people, working people, people who had worried about bread and grain and the price of things, people who had planned and saved and still feared it would not be enough. Their fear had been real. It had also been a kind of weight. Two of them had lived differently, not wealthier, not luckier. They had simply carried less fear about tomorrow. And that difference, according to what Bayezid had seen across a lifetime of watching people, had left a mark. Not a mark anyone could see while they were alive, but a mark nonetheless. Think about what it means to check how much you have at 2 in the morning when you cannot sleep. Not once, regularly, as a habit, as something your body does before it will let you rest. That habit is not just a thought. It is a posture. It is something the body learns and then does not easily unlearn. Think about the feeling that you never quite have enough, that no number in the world would feel like enough, that even when things are stable, something in you is already calculating the next loss. That feeling is old. It does not come from your situation. It comes from a story you have been telling yourself for a very long time. Think about working through every rest, every holiday, every quiet moment, because stopping feels dangerous, because rest feels like falling behind, because the fear of not having enough has become so familiar that you have mistaken it for discipline. It is not discipline. It is fear wearing discipline's clothes. Bayezid's answer to the grave robber was not a comfort. It was a diagnosis. He was saying that a life lived in constant fear of running out does not stay inside the mind. It goes into the body. It changes the body. It changes the way a person sits, the way a person breathes, the way a person finally lies down. The two bodies in the burial ground that still faced the right way were not saints. They were not famous. They were people who had somehow managed to live without that particular fear running their lives, and it had left its mark on them too. A different kind of mark, one that held. The grave robber left Bayezid's room that night, carrying something he had not brought with him. Not a solution, not a plan. Something quieter than that. A question he had finally put into words, and an answer he had not expected, and the long walk home through the dark to think about both. The lamp in the small room burned down to nothing before morning. The clay jug sat where it had always sat. The burial ground was still. And somewhere in the dark, a man who had opened 1,000 graves was walking home, thinking about the two that had not